Good morning, everybody. Auronnj here with another Final Fantasy 7 Ever Crisis video, and we've got a September 7th release date confirmed for Ever Crisis. That's a little sooner than I anticipated, and I'm very happy about that because this was a game that I really enjoyed beta testing for, and I'm ready to start putting out some pre-release content. I've just been waiting until that release date was confirmed. Well, now we've got one, so let this be my first pre-release video for this game, and I want to talk about my experiences in beta, the developers' direct responses to not only my feedback but the other beta testers' feedback, and talk about if this is a game that you should play as maybe a Final Fantasy 7 fan, a Square Enix fan, a Final Fantasy fan. Who should play this game? Those are the questions we're going to attempt to answer today. Now, first of all, make sure you are clicking the link in the description of this video and then retweeting this post. It'll give you a chance to win like an Amazon gift card or some postcards with Final Fantasy 7 art. So that's the announcement. That's all fine and good, but also make sure you're pre-registering for this game if you're thinking about playing. We've already hit 1 million pre-registered users, which has gotten us a 5-star weapon draw. This is a weapon-based gacha system, so 5-star weapon draw is a very, very good prize. The 1.2 million prize is insane though. It's 3,000 blue crystals, which is a 10 pull, 30 draw tickets, which is 3 10 pulls, and then 2 gear sets. I don't know what's in those gear sets, but this is a game where the 5-star drop rate is very high. So 40 pulls is a lot of potential 5-star weapons for your account. That's a very generous gift right there. And then the 1.5 million users might be the biggest one because the gacha system is a weapon gacha in this game, but through hitting certain pity milestones in the gacha, through clearing certain content, you can earn alternate costumes for your characters that do two things. One, they make your characters look cool. I mean, Tifa looks, or I'm sorry. Aerith looks pretty good in that black and red leather. That's she's got something going on there more than even usual, so that's nice. But also they adjust your stats, help you switch into different builds, enhance some elements, things like that, and they looked like about the rarest thing to get in the beta. So getting a set of that or getting a pull ticket or whatever that battle gear is, we definitely want that milestone. Let's hit 1.5 million. Heck, let's hit 2 and see what other prizes they got lined up ready to give out. Still, that's not the biggest focus of this video. What I want to focus on here is who should want to play Ever Crisis based not only on my experience with the game, but on what the devs have said from the feedback the beta players gave. Now, a quick TLDR. If you are somebody who's a fan of Final Fantasy 7, the base game, or the Final Fantasy 7 like extended universe with all the different stories, this is going to be a game you're going to want to check out. What they're trying to do here is take all of like the different Final Fantasy 7 games, bring them to one place, and just give us all of that to digest, all that lore, all that story in a shorter, more easily consumed mode. It was great. Like, I really liked playing through the key points in Final Fantasy 7 again. I really liked playing it through the side games, including some new stuff being added to, I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but there was a Final Fantasy 7 like battle royale game that didn't really have a lot of story. Well, they add story to that here where you're playing as like some Shinra soldiers, and it really was pretty good. So if you're a fan of the Final Fantasy 7 universe, I think this is a game you're going to want to check out. But I think the biggest audience for this game is going to be people who like the ATB combat system. I found the combat in this game to be very fun. It was my favorite part of the game personally, and it's something that, based on the feedback we're getting from the devs, they're seeming to lean into that a little bit. So if those things sound interesting to you, let me try and sell you on the game a little bit more, and you can try it for free. So it's a gacha game. I say the word free when I'm talking about a gacha game. Y'all know what I'm talking. You're adults probably. If you played Final Fantasy 7, you know what I'm talking about. You're not idiots. Let's keep rolling. Okay, here we go. Here's the feedback the beta players gave and the devs' responses. First of all, when asked the satisfaction with the game, about 87% of people gave it a 4 or a 5-star rating. That's pretty good considering there were a lot of bugs in the beta. Some bugs prevented people from playing at all, so I imagine that's about a lot of your 1%ers, that's probably them. Still, this is very high. And then an even more promising sign when you're looking at like all the beta testers is 90% of players that played the beta either wanted to play or definitely wanted to play, with the vast majority, 78%, definitely wanting to play. The 9% of that 90, of that remaining 10, actually said they would play if certain things were improved. And that's where the developers have a chance right here to take a game that was good in beta and turn it into something that could be like a really great single player mobile game. There's been some flops in the past. I think of a game like Echoes of Mana, which was a single player game that I really loved, and like I just never felt like the development team was really listening to our feedback here. I get the opposite feeling from this development team, and hopefully they're learning something. So here we go, comments from the development team. They said that nearly 90% of the people gave it a 5 or a 4 star, and that they were very happy with that despite the bugs. They received many compliments on the graphics as well as the atmosphere. That's true. The graphics in this game for a mobile game, oh my goodness, they were good, so I completely agree with that. And then they would like to mention the following feedback they received from players. The menu is not easy to use. That's true. The menu was, it was worse than not easy to use. That's something that they're addressing, and that needs updated. It definitely needs changed, so I'm happy they brought that up. And then not enough enhancement materials and stamina. Yeah, and those were kind of two sides of the same coin. There was a stamina problem in this game. I complained about Honkai Star Rail a lot when it first came out. I thought the stamina system in that game was terrible. There was so many things I wanted to do in Star Rail, and I just felt like, well, I'm done playing for the day because the like artificial stamina system just says I can't play anymore. And while I understand that, because they want me to keep playing every day, potentially spending more money and all of that, it felt really bad in Honkai Star Rail. And I'm happy that they are bringing that up here. They have more to say about that later, so we'll get there when we get there. And then because of that stamina system being so bad, enhancement materials, which you did have to farm a lot of in this game, you were kind of like, well, how do I even get more? It was a problem, so that they bring that up as a player concern is really good. And then they go on to address it more in a little bit. So first, they will improve the lack of enhancement materials and stamina by removing the limit on the number of times stamina tonics can be used so that players can enjoy the game more easily. I have never understood why they limit the amount of times you can use stamina potions in a game. Like, do you want to make money game? I bet you there's people who would pay money to continue to play the game a little bit more. Maybe it's even as little bit of a money as like a $1 pack to get another couple hours of playing or something like that. Like, allow people to do that. It never, the number of stamina refreshes being limited never made sense to me. So I'm really happy that they're removing that. And then the type and amount of materials required for various types of growth will also be adjusted. So uncapping stamina refreshes and lowering material costs for upgrades. Two really good developments from the beta, and as a beta player, those were definitely things I thought needed addressed. Now, regarding the lack of playable content, look, if you played the beta and complained about lack of playable content, it was a beta. Like, you didn't get the whole, that's silly. There's going to be obviously way more game in the full game. In fact, you just hit points in the story, specifically in the beta, where it was like, hey, you've gotten as far as we're gonna let you go in the beta, you know, go do other stuff. So I'm really not even worried about this one so much. And then we're working to fix the problems that we've identified before release. We'll continue to work and refine the game, blah, blah, blah. Okay, planned adjustments. Here's some planned changes they have for launch. UI adjustments. Yeah, great. Okay, we talked about that a second ago. Removal of the limit on stamina atomics, removal of the maximum number of stamina boosts, and then adjust the type of materials for various types of growth. So there we go. They are directly hitting the problems that a lot of people pointed out. It's a great start towards making the game just more friendly to players, which I think is good. Let's continue. Now, responses regarding story and dungeon content. Note here, again, a lot of the good color on these graphs. Were you able to enjoy the entire story? Please choose an answer that applies to you. Yes, 76% of people who responded here said they enjoyed the story. It is presented in a way that is not like other Final Fantasy VII games you're going to have played. A lot of the like roaming around a world map and farming, killing little weed plants so you can go kill the Midgar Zolom, that's gone. That's not there, right? But you do explore certain maps. The environments that are there look really nice, and then you skip from a lot of like dialogue scenes to combat scenes. In fact, in some of those dialogue scenes, there is added dialogue that's not there in any other form of the game. Some backstory for like Avalanche members, things like that. So there's a little bit even extra built in there. So even though you're getting a lot of the maybe filler cut out, and some people enjoy the filler, and in fact for some people, walking around with your characters and using them in combat actually makes them feel more like a part of your roster. They're getting rid of the it felt good. It felt good, and the beta players agreed. And then, did you enjoy the dungeon exploration parts of the story where you walk around? Now, this was a little bit less. Most people said they enjoyed. A lot of people said somewhat enjoyed. It was fine. I especially liked it in the side dungeons, like the side explorable dungeons where you could pick which like boss you were going to fight. You were going for high scores to get better prizes. I thought those were really good. So I agree there. Overall comments from the players: story was easy to follow. The low poly models were very high quality. True. The new original story is enjoyable. That's the one I was talking about from the Battle Royale game. And then the balance of nostalgia and novelty was great. So there we go. We're going to get another gift too. We're going to get a 5-star weapon for Glenn, a member of that new story. So there we go. That's great. And let's continue. So regarding battle, were you able to enjoy the battle? Please choose an answer that applies to you. 70% of people enjoyed, another 26% somewhat enjoyed. That is 96% of people basically giving this a 4 out of 4 or a 3 out of 4. That's really good. My biggest gripe with the battle system that I actually don't see addressed here is the auto battle was too good. The auto battle, there was so many times, because there's a mechanic in this game where you switch between offensive and defensive stance. The defensive stance makes you take less damage and heal more. The AI is too good at doing it. So often you were incentivized to let the AI handle a lot of harder fights for you. Even if they weren't the best at DPSing, the way they managed your stances was just, you couldn't possibly do it at 2x speed as good as they do. I will say that I hope that gets changed. But in harder fights, you were incentivized to use the characters. You were incentivized to make sure you were hitting certain weaknesses, certain different, and I'll go over this in more detail later. So anyway, here's what they're going to change. Content difficulty adjustments. Some things were really hard. Some things were incredibly hard. Even at the recommended power level that you were given, you were like, this feels tough. So maybe they're going to, they'll adjust things. That makes sense. Reassessing recommended battle power. That definitely needs to happen, just to give you a better idea if you're ready for a fight or not. Extending the time limit during battle. This was a huge complaint by a lot of players. A huge complaint by people in the beta. Basically, on certain boss fights, to prevent you from just making teams that turtled up, where you made Cloud into a healer and you had Aerith as a healer and you just kind of trickled out some damage over time while constantly healing yourself, they put a time limit on the battle. So you're incentivized to do as much damage as fast as possible while keeping yourself alive, which is a challenge. It did feel too short. It did feel too short. I like the idea of limiting the time on a battle because I hate turtling. I think it's really boring. Okay, give us a little more time though. That will open up some more team comp options, and it will help ease the power of the mid to late game. So that's good. And then removing the time period limit to participate in co-op. Yeah, we could only do co-op at a couple times during the day. Made sense during the beta, and even then it kind of crashed and was bugged out sometimes. So making co-op all day seems good. And then battle UI adjustments, that will be nice as well. Then the development team just says, hey, they're grateful for everybody who played. They're happy we had fun, and they are looking forward to more action. So there we go, guys. I hope that you guys join me in this game. It's definitely something I'm going to be covering on the channel. I'm going to be releasing a guide for every character in the game, like what their weapons do, how that kind of affects them, how you maybe want to play them. So all of those videos are going to be coming out soon as the build up to launch happens. I'll do little tier list videos where we talk about the strongest characters in the game, their strongest weapons, all of that. And I'm looking forward to it. The 7th, that's less than a month. We're less than a month away from Ever Crisis. So here we go. I'll see y'all in there. Peace.